James Carvin here again. Please visit jamescarvin.com. Thanks for buying the top hats. That's how we support what I do and everything you find on this website. Now today I want to talk about asynalagonomy and incentivized asynalagonomy and the HANDS database system, which I said has two sides. It has the social input side and then it has the resources side. So we're going to go through all that real quick. Ready? We can start off with the socially communicated demand. That can be divided up into individuals that are going to list what they need on a sheet, and they're going to list it by priority. Each person says what they need onto a social network, and that's all there is to it. There's that, and then there's government type of things where you'd have public discussion, where the social networks are involved in that discussion, elected committees and elected representatives, and basic voting in the standard way you see in democracies. The people are not the only ones, of course, that are going to be having input into the human availability needs database system. There's also the resource management part of it, which is basically a government function. So if you get a job as a resource manager, you're going to have input that's going to protect our limited resources. So you're going to grant certain privileges to have access to some limited resources, and that's your job, the resource management. Now, of course, there's variable resources where it's a moving target, where some things are being produced at a certain rate, okay, like how much water do we have available, how quickly is it being replenished through aquifers, how much are the dams producing, and that kind of thing. So resource management is more complex, but it's providing what becomes available, and it's communicating how much demand there happens to be. Sometimes the people on social networks don't know how much they actually need, so you need experts on the job for that, and those people get educated, and then they're producing that input into the needs portion of the database system. Make sense? So that's the needs side. There's also the availability side. We're going to start out by communicating that socially. We've got the human time and skills that we're inputting into the system. What can I do? When can I do it? How much of it can I do? How much can I make? Who can I serve? What are my skills? And I'm going to produce products and services, and so is everybody else. And they're going to communicate that through the social network so that everybody can see what they have available in terms of human contributions and what our human resources actually are. All right. Now they can also donate their stuff, their belongings, and they may have real estate. They may choose to move. Once you have a certain privilege level in this system, then you can move to various places as they're available. Person wants to move, all they have to do to sell their house is put it up on the market and say, this is available now and I'd like something else. Normally you're going to pick something that's already available that you like and that you have the privileges for, and you're going to move there. Once you've done that, then you can put up your own home, make that available. But you're not privileged to have two homes unless you have that privilege level. Then there's the resources that are limited that go into what's available, which we already talked about is controlled by the resource managers. And we have the renewable resources, which they're also measuring on a timeline as that goes. So that's how that works. What's available? So the availability side and the demand side. Now it's in that context that you can acquire goods and services based on your privileges, but it's not just a simple, oh well, what type of job gets what privilege rating based on the demand factors communicated socially. It's more complicated than that. Life is secure. We start out with the things that you can inherit from your parents or from family, and then you can also choose to donate those back into the system if you don't want them, and you can choose the jobs that you can find on the database system based on the human availability and needs that have been expressed. You naturally are going to want to choose a type of work that's in higher demand, and if you do that, not only are you going to have the work demand factors, but you're going to have performance factors go into that, how well you do a job. So there's quality control jobs available, and through that quality control you get audited. It determines how much quality you're doing as you're working, how much time you're putting into it, how long you've done it on a regular basis. All those things factor in, and so there's your longevity, and that becomes part of your social security. Okay, so there's people who work in social security management, and there's also what they produce use, which ultimately is a somewhat complex algorithm that averages out all the amount of work and quality of work and what type you've done based on the work type demand factors that you've had, and ultimately produces at any given time a somewhat shifting prestige factor that you possess so that you have rights to purchase goods and services using the privileges that you've earned. Now, it may be that you might have access to some limited resources and things that can't be renewed that you might be able to use for a time without expiring them. Obviously, we want to be able to take things that can't be renewed and share them with our children and grandchildren and so on, and build and plan a world. So that, my friends, is what goes into the input and output side of the human availability and needs database system. The availability and the needs. Now, let's talk about what that means for all of us, okay? Because we've got 4 different types of systems and only one of them actually works, and that's the incentivized asynalagonomy. Now, I've had these people, they get so defensive when I tell them anything that's not right with capitalism. They assume I'm trying to defend communism or socialism. If I complain about communism or socialism, they assume that I'm trying to defend capitalism. I'm talking about incentivized asynalagonomy, and it has nothing to do with any of those things. If you really take a close look at that, you'll see all the differences. So let's think about this. Let's have a better world. Let's think about what can happen when you have organization, when you have all the people having input about what we really want and need. Can it get any simpler than that? And the social networking side of that tells the system exactly what we need and want most. It's like a vote, but you're just saying, this is what I need. And then, well, you can't have it if we don't have it available, okay? So that could be a problem. If it's not available, well, okay, there's a reason not to give it to you. But if we can all work and have reason to work, we got at least 4 out of 5 jobs that will no longer be doing stuff like selling stuff that you don't want, or trying to oversell stuff that makes you think you have a value you don't really get, so you're buying an illusion, or having all of the real needs that we need long term in terms of our natural resources expired and exploited by people who don't want you to know the truth about how they're ruining those things. Rather, instead, we have everybody working together to build a planet that lasts for generation after generation after generation. We're talking about a system that offers no debt. We have no debt because we have no money. Jubilee year is here. It's called incentivized asynalagonomy, but it's permanent, not just every 50 years. We can start this as soon as we're ready. Just build the database and then tell the people about it. Get a hat. If everybody's wearing a hat, we know the majority of people understand we need this. And no more healthcare problems? Hello? We don't have to pay for them. So, what are the needs of the elderly? Can they work? No, they can't. So we take care of them. We have a social security net, and that takes care of them. Takes care of the people who are infirm or disabled. Takes care of them. Why? Because that's one of our needs. We need to take care of our families. And we're going to express that in the social network of the system. It all works together. It's a single database that coordinates everything that we work to build together. Let's build this system, shall we? Now, you might say, well, what if somebody hacks into it? You know, there's a pretty heavy penalty for theft. How'd you like for life to be marked as a person who did that? Well, you're going to be the person that's out in the desert with nothing if you do that, okay? Or in a jail cell forever, because there is a prison system and an incentivized asynalagonomy for special characters like you. What about war? What about defense? Well, don't you think we all think we need to defend ourselves? But would there be a reason to go exploiting other countries? Capitalist countries do this, but asynalagonomies simply take care of the planet. And war sucks. We all know it. We have to send our children there. So I don't think we're going to willfully vote to do that, will we? We will vote to defend ourselves. But to colonize, no financial incentive. What we wind up with is world peace. We can do research without having to worry about the feasibility of it. We'll measure how many people we have available and what research we need to do most and accomplish that. What about population growth? There's 2 commandments in the Bible that are first. Number 1 is be fruitful and multiply, and number 2 is subdue the earth. Let's compare the four basic systems. With capitalism, we have progress, abundance, and the forces of competition making things better and better all of the time. An incentivized asynalagonomy does not lack the factor of quality and the reason that people need to make things better and work for excellence, because that's worked into the rewards that you get through quality control. So there'd be plenty of work done. If we need the work, we have to go work harder, and everybody realizes they all have to do more for society if they're going to enjoy more stuff. But we can also build robotics, and we're not going to complain that our jobs have been taken away because there's less work to do. That's only going to make it easier for us to do the things that humans have to do. So robotic competition and population growth are not going to be issues for us. We're not competing to do more. We're actually hoping to have less to do so we can enjoy longer vacations. So no competition with the locomotive, Paul Bunyan. So that's an advantage. And also, we could really be building into outer space. We could be building under our oceans. We could be taking advantage of new technologies. We wouldn't have to worry, oh, well, that costs us more to generate than it's making. You know, technology and innovation have no limitation. We can build to outer space a lot more easily in an incentivized asynalagonomy. If we had socialism, then what you're talking about is just a state-owned capitalism. It's still anarchical. Nations are competing against each other. They have serious financial restrictions as to what they can actually do. And in communism, it's essentially the same. It's just that the government owns everything, and you just have to borrow from the government. Nobody owns anything in communism, whereas in an incentivized asynalagonomy, everybody owns everything. You can inherit things, just can't trade them. If we want to really be able to subdue the earth and enjoy an unlimited population, we may have to curb our growth in population until such a time as we have the technology available to really get into outer space. But if we're really going to work together to do this, there's no other way that this can be done other than through an incentivized asynalagonomy. What I'm talking about is the whole future of mankind. We have to adopt this system. Education is free in an incentivized asynalagonomy. I'll bet we would pay our teachers plenty in terms of prestige. No shortage of students needing to learn something. No shortage of skills we have to attain. I sure don't want to lose my pretty forest, do you? How's your water supply? Got geese?
Can you drink it without getting sick?
How about fresh air, huh?
And what if there could be a world without war?
Well, if those aren't good enough reasons to pick up a top hat at jamescarvin.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I really don't know what is. Once we get everybody wearing one of these, we're committed to excellence and we know what we're talking about. So lead them right here. We can change this world and you can help.